Sorry, I got home from work late and I'm trying to get everything organized here, like on the fly. I tried to get as much done last night as I could.
Jacob said, "Thank you for the birthday present."
Oh, you're welcome.
The goblet. He got it.
There's more coming.
That was cool. Oh, nice.
Facebook working, John Stomas, or anybody?
I will check.
Thank you. I am going to need.
Yeah, it looks like it's working.
Oh, thank the maker. Thank the god of tits and wine. Tits and wine. What? Tell me that says Microsoft sucks now. She's in mourning. Get ready for a hot show.
What's up?
What's up, kid? Okay, so I'm just waiting to get the confirmation. Somebody needs to watch Facebook for me, please. And I'm going to ask that to be Trin. Could you keep an eye on Facebook for me? Is that okay? Thank you. I'm going to try to keep an eye on the on the YouTube. I mean, I'm looking at YouTube. I mean, you can look at both if you want, but I don't want to. I mean, I'm going to look at YouTube. Sorry, everyone. I just got home from work a little while ago. It was a very crazy day at work. And I think we're live on YouTube. Yeah, we should be. Yeah, we're live. Yeah. Whew. Okay.
We're live on Facebook?
Yes, we are. Don't throw to 20. Yay. So we have Kayleen, what's up? We got people jumping in the live. Let's see. Yes. Holy cats. Yep. Robert. Yay.
Andrea, I'm accepting your Facebook request right now, Andrea Triggs.
Oh, cool. I don't think she's on live yet, but Julie.
She's probably in the Facebook. Normally she's in Facebook.
Yeah, Julie's wearing her Terminator shades right now.
Dude, I'm just...
She's ready for action. Better watch out. She's ready for fire. She's all fired up.
I would, but the dragon used it all.
All right, let me check some audio here real quick. John, hold on, wait a second. Let me get this up.
Chris, do I sound better now that I fixed it?
You do sound better, but we're going to have to adjust your volume in just a second, okay?
Is it too loud or is it too low?
Right there. Hold it right there. Kayleen, Julie is in mourning.
Yep.
All right, so let's get a audio check from John. Go, John, go.
This is the time of wolves.
All right. Of course you say that. All right, and Trin.
Chris, do I sound better now that I fixed it?
Oh, I hear some sort of loop in the background.
Sorry, that was me. My bad.
Okay. Test 1, 2, 3.
All right, excellent. All right, Julie, go.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
All right, you're okay. Just pull away from the mic just a tiny bit.
I'm too loud, right?
Right there. Yeah, try it right there.
Right there. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, that should get you going pretty good there. All right, and Yardley, I think, is still AFK.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay! There's Yardley.
The only person to correctly predict the fucking ending of this show. Yardley is the fucking GOAT, everybody.
Could you turn your audio down a little bit, Julie? Your output, just like maybe 5 dBs. Only because the whole family's here. Everyone made it.
How's that? Is that better, Chris?
Much better.
Okay.
Much better. Only because you have a very
I
projective voice.
Yeah, the problem is that I can't hear it because I'm not.
Yeah, and the other thing is that it's perception. Like, even though you're the same level as everyone else, decibel-wise, it's perception.
I don't think I was the same level.
So Facebook will not load for me.
It's not loading at all?
Nah. Watch.
I didn't have my USB setting on, Chris, on Skype. Is this making a difference? Is it too loud?
Are you looking at it through Chrome or are you looking at it through Internet Explorer?
Chrome.
Julie,
Huh.
But look,
after you.
it's just not loading. Like it's just.
I mean, I've got it up if need be,
All right.
Chris.
How about all right, Trent? Don't worry about it. Julie, you watch the Facebook, okay?
Sorry.
Can't
okay.
say that I'll be 100% with.
Well, try please.
I will do my best.
So I can't. It's very difficult.
There's a goat in the house.
Goat. Okay. Everything. The audio looks good. All right. 1 second. 1 second. We're going to start, everyone. Actually, 2 seconds.
Hope everybody, like Sir Davos and Sam, have their water bottles today. Everybody got their water bottles?
What was
Are
the
you-
reference?
You didn't see that there were water bottles behind Sam?
Oh, yeah,
Davos?
I did.
Everybody, get your water bottles.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I totally didn't notice it though when I was watching the
I don't know how
episode.
people see that.
What's
shit.
up, Ray?
Gino says, "Love you guys. I'll be hopping in and out. Awesome." Ashley Jordan, yay! What's up? I'm going to put a link in the YouTube. So if you guys want to join us after the show, that's the wrong button. After the live show ends, we're still live at Get Vocal. So I'm going to put the link in the YouTube, and I'm going to have Julie put the link in the Facebook. And we'll do it again later also. This way, if you guys want to join us for like the after show party kind of thing, then that's where you want to go to Get Vocal. Really easy to use. You can use that now or later, whichever. We got some people in Get Vocal. We'll do some quick shout outs. Okay, here we go. We're going to start this podcast off. And here we go.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. You die.
Warning, this podcast contains explicit language and spoilers. This is Behind the Iron Throne, your unofficial Game of Thrones podcast.
Okay, and here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Don't shake your mic, John. Well, hello. Welcome back to Behind the Iron Throne. I'm your host, Chris Gray, and it is episode 219, where we're going to be reviewing / reaction of our very last episode of the Game of Thrones television series. Holy cat, it's going to be pretty tough. It is May 20th, 2019. Ba-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, dun. Bran became king. That sucks. Ba-ba-bum, bum, ba-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, dun. Jon Snow is a bastard living in the north. Ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-bum, bum. Arya is like Christopher Columbus. Ba-da-lum, bum, ba-da-lum, bum, ba-da-lum, bum. Sansa's the only one I really give a shit about. Ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum.
Queen in the North.
That is it. That's the best I could come up with in short time getting
It was really good, Chris. It was really good, except
Awesome.
for it was really
And-
good.
You're hearing the voice of General Jonathan Stoma Starklover. What's up, pal?
Chris, I got a lot to say.
Oh, I
You
know
know,
you do.
All I'm going to say is all hail Bran the Broken, first of his name, King of the Annals, the First Man, Lord of the Six Kingdoms, the Protector of the Realm. This is the time of wolves, my friends. The Starks are back. The Starks are back, baby.
Okay, Wheel Creeper it is.
Rule 8 kingdoms.
All right, next we have my sister Julie. What's up, kid? How are you?
I'm very depressed. Very, very, very depressed.
Let's bring some life back to this podcast. What it is, Dovahkiin, Dragon Whisperer, the real mother of dragons, in my opinion. Trent, what's
Aw.
up?
There's
of emotions and a lot of feels going on. Some of them positive, some of them not so positive, but that's why people come here and talk to us, because we have the full gambit.
Now, if you're not watching live, which you should be, behindtheironthrone.tv or getvocal.com or facebook.com/Behind the Iron Throne, Jon is waving the banner. He's got the banner behind him and he's waving it. You know, it's a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for joining us live. But first, we have the one, the only, the man, the militant Marker Yardley. What's up, pal?
Hey, I'm good. Beautiful day in Atlanta, Georgia. Excited to talk about this episode, the final episode of Game of Thrones. You know, it's funny. Damn near a decade has gone by, and it just seems like yesterday when we were first starting off this show.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I want to do a quick shout out to all the people that are in YouTube Live right now that are showing up as participants. Ashley, we have Don't Throw to 20, we have Elizabeth, we have Gino, we have Kayleen, and of course Kayleen said that she was thinking about me when they named Bran the king. I think a lot of people were.
I was too.
I was.
Yep. I immediately was like, "Oh no, Chris is gonna lose his mind."
I was waiting for the phone call. I swear to God, I was waiting for the phone call.
I was watching our chat group, going, "Chris has got to say something. He's got to say something."
I thought about it. I was like waiting for it. We also have Ricky, we have Robert, and whoever else pops in. We'll try to shout you out or ask your questions during the podcast. Now on Get Vocal, we have Gabe, we have Elizabeth, we have Rob, we have RJM Drum, we have Stefan, we have Kyle, we have Shayna, got your name right, and Sabrina, Big Bad Brad, and Anna. All right. Anyone on we got a Facebook, kid.
So we've got Anthony, we've got Danielle, we've got Jimmy, who is General Goat. What's up, General Goat?
Oh,
and Andrea Triggs coming in, my girl. What's up? Shauna, Kieran, Marianne, Alyssa. Boy, there's a whole bunch. We said Shauna, didn't I? Ray, what's up, Ray? How you doing? Emily, Robert, Shay, Joelle. My goodness, look at all you people. What's up, B-Tit fam? Good to have you. Anthony, good to have you. Emily, good to have you. What's up?
If you guys are in Facebook, please like our Facebook page and share this video. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and you can subscribe to our channel, because this is not our last episode. You're going to be watching us flap our gums for quite a while.
Yeah, we got a lot of episodes planned out. We'll get into that, but we're going to keep podcasting and doing our thing for quite some time. So you don't have to worry about us having a season or a series finale just yet. We're here and we're ready to go. So let's start talking about this episode. Yardley, you want to lead us into your show notes and kind of open up our conversation here?
Yeah, you know what's kind of funny, if you go back a lot of years, how a lot of us were thinking that the possibility of Tyrion ending up on the Iron Throne was really high, based off of, up to those points, he really was one of the smartest characters that was on the show. And as time went on, especially in the latter seasons, we found out, a lot of times, even after the fact, where he might have had an idea or a decision where at the time it seemed like it was legit, but something would go wrong and it would make him look, more and more like he was unqualified to be anybody's hand, to be honest with you. So his arc in this episode for me and how it ended up for him, it was kind of surprising, because after last week's episode, I was for certain that he was probably doomed because of the decisions that he made. But when this episode started off, I think one of the best parts of it was when Tyrion ended up, digging his brother and sister, at least partially, out of that rubble. I thought that scene was really good for me, because the tears that he was having were tears for his family and not necessarily for his brother, but it was for his brother and his sister, and kind of seeing that the legacy of the Lannisters kind of rested on his shoulders. He didn't necessarily know how far he could take that, because he knew that, there were some betrayals and things like that kind of led them there. But I thought that scene was really good. It seemed like it was heartfelt, and as much as people may not like Cersei, or some people really didn't like Jaime after a couple of episodes ago, I thought that it worked for them to kind of, show how he felt about, his family. And in the early parts of the episode, some of the scenes with the scene with Tyrion and Jon that kind of spoke to me was when he was kind of, laying out the case of why Dany wasn't really qualified. And the part that I enjoyed the most was him at least acknowledging that Varys was right. And I laughed out loud when he said that Varys was laughing at him from the ashes. I thought that was very poignant. And he felt the weight of his betrayal towards one of his friends, but that betrayal ultimately led to him being able to, kind of convince Jon that Dany might not have been the right person to be on the throne. And in the end, he ended up being rewarded by being the hand of the new king, which is Bran the Broken now. And I think that was cool that he got rewarded, but I really did think that he was in a bad situation after last week. And I guess to close out this series, one thing that he mentioned was how oblivion might be one of the best things that he could have when he was asking Jon about the afterlife, when he was thinking he was going to be executed. And at the end of the episode, when Sam presents the Song of Ice and Fire, he mentions that Tyrion is not in the book. So in a way, he might meet oblivion because he won't necessarily be remembered for all of the contributions that he made to get Westeros to where it is today. So I was really kind of feeling that. And to be honest with you, the beginning of the episode really did kind of set the tone for the rest of the episode. It was dark and you knew that it was going to be gloomy. So that part at least worked for me.
It's funny. You bring up Tyrion and when he was looking at Jaime and Cersei. And there was a really funny meme I saw on, I love the internet. You guys are awesome. There's this meme where Jaime is like whispering to Cersei, are you sleeping? And Cersei's like, yes, I am. Don't let them know that we're awake. We don't want to be in this shit episode. I thought that was hilarious.
So that is so messed up. But you kind of have to feel something with that though, because
oh yeah,
I mean, that Tyrion and Cersei have always been at each other's throat. That Tyrion loved his brother, but there were plenty of things in this show that always reminded you that there was that love between Jaime and Cersei, even though that it was buried deep. And it was kind of cool to see those characters one last time, but it also gets kind of sad where you're literally thinking, yeah, this is the last time that we're going to see these characters.
Yeah, I felt that it was pretty sad also. I mean, watching Tyrion smack the rocks, like he was just so frustrated. And I mean, just Tyrion walking into King's Landing, looking at all the devastation was like, wow, this is the aftermath. And then you had all the ash flying around. It was, and the music, it's just amazing how they did that, whether you like the episode or not.
Hey, did it give off that General Hux type feel when Dany was making her speech? I know we'll get to
yeah,
it, but
absolutely
all I was
did.
thinking was,
yes, I saw the same thing.
Yeah,
the First Order bullshit. Yep,
absolutely.
Trin, how about you?
Well, to start off, I'm gonna tell everybody I made a peace before watching this episode. I made my peace with the rest of the season. And I had to go in with that mindset that, like, I'm just going to take this for what it's worth. I have to applaud the production company and the producers as far as the graphics, the cinematography, all of those wonderful things. Like, it was an exquisite 80-something minutes of television for sure, whether I agree with the story or not. Like, there's no denying that this was amazing. But what I fell in love with this show for was the subtle nuances. That's what made me fall in love with the show in the beginning. And I don't think they had time to do those subtle nuances this season or even last season. I believe they should have done the full 10 episodes for both season 7 and 8. And they would have had time to develop these stories a little bit more, in my opinion. It's totally my opinion. Everybody else has probably got their own ideas, but one of those subtle things that they kind of subtly showed us was that Tyrion and Bran had an off-screen conversation, if you guys remember. I think it was episode 2 during the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I think that was. And we never know what they talked about, but isn't it convenient that now Bran is king and Tyrion's his hand? So that was one of the first things I thought of was, I wonder if they've been planning this. I wonder how much of this actually got fleshed out before it actually happened, because we know Bran can see into the future. And so Tyrion was his sidekick, maybe, possibly, who knows? They never had a major relationship. I mean, Tyrion said back in, what was it, season 1, when he was going back through Winterfell on his way back from the wall, when he stopped and talked to Bran and got him the saddle. And that was kind of like the beginning of their relationship. But really, that was it. We didn't see them together again until much, much later, years later. And I have to say, like, I'm really, I don't agree with Tyrion getting rewarded for being a narc on Varys and then betraying his queen. You know, makes sense that of course he's going to get rewarded and become the Hand of the King again because of his amazing decision making. And Peter Dinklage did an amazing job, and he's going to get, you know, probably an Emmy for what he did on screen. It was great. Even though he did an amazing job with that performance and delivering that to us, and when he was down with the dead bodies of Cersei and Jaime, that's still, I couldn't feel it with him as much, because that whole family, like Bronn said it perfectly, like this fucking family, they're constantly trying to kill each other. Like they fucking hated each other. And Cersei contracted both of her brothers to be killed, and then they both go save her life or attempt to save her life. And it just, I mean, there's nothing like family that constantly is trying to kill each other. That's going to make me feel something for them. I have to bring it back though, and remember that there are no black and white characters in this show. Everybody's a shade of gray. So everybody has some good and some bad, some flaws, some redeeming qualities. And that is something that I have to keep reminding myself. This is not your typical fantasy. You know, you have the hero, except, yeah, no, not even Jon Snow. He's got so many flaws. I have lists anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with this episode. I'm okay with what happened to Tyrion. I'm okay with him living. I liked a lot of his dialogue, but I don't have a lot of praise other than that.
Hey, y'all, do y'all remember that we were originally, because one of the biggest beefs that a lot of people had about this season and last season was the pacing. But remember, we were supposed to only get 7 seasons. So technically we got 3 more episodes than we were supposed to, even though I would dread about how fast things would have to be if we had, 3 less episodes. But, at the end of the day, I think that they still decided to throw us a bone.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that no matter how you slice it, I totally agree with a lot of what Trin said. There was a lot of stuff that wasn't flushed out. The conversation that Tyrion and Bran had, I feel like that was more important, and we see it now. Like he's handed Tyrion is now handed the king to the wheel creeper, the wheel king creeper, and it's like, well, when that happened, I'm still fucking blown away by that. Now, I'm not saying that the episode was bad, but I'm saying it wasn't that good. We'll get into the details of that later, but I want to say that Tyrion, Peter Dinklage did a phenomenal job. And I feel like one of my favorite scenes was when Tyrion looked up at Dany, who was pulling the whole, emperor kind of thing. And he pulls the hand of the queen off and just fucking flicks it. And it's like, you killed innocent people. I don't remember what he said verbatim, but it was like, yeah, you tell her.
You destroyed the city.
And then I'm like, oh my God, he's going to get killed. John, what are your thoughts?
I agree with a lot about what Yarly said. It was kind of sad. I was feeling for Tyrion when he discovered his brother and sister dead like that. I was pretty sad. That's a fucked up family. You know, Tyrion, like the look on his face when he finally realized that Danny, like he was wrong about Danny, and like I said, I agree with you, Chris, when he just flicked the how he flicked the hand of the kings. I mean, the queen of the hand of the queen's pin on the floor, and then all the Sully just stopped. Whatever they were doing, I think they were like
banging their spears.
Yeah, their spears, and they all just stopped. I thought that was a really cool scene, like because that little thing just made them stop. And then, his conversation with Jon, I love where he's like, maybe my ashes will tell Varys' ashes will tell my ashes that I was wrong. I thought that was cool. Him and Jon had some good. That conversation was good. Tyrion, like I agree, Tyrion was should win another Emmy for this season. He was really good. I do like him being Hand to the King because out of everyone, he is the best choice to be Hand to the King. And I think Bran saw that. And the ending scene I love that council. That's a very fun small council with Bronn as Master Coin. That was his master ship, and Sam being the Meister there. I thought that was a very fun council.
Was Sam the Grand Maester? No, he wasn't the Grand Maester, right? He was just a Maester.
I think he was just a Maester on the council.
He was the Grand Maester. That's what he called him in the episode.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Yeah,
wow.
At the end. Yeah.
So he's a Grand Maester then, and he's on the council. So there's a funny scene. I wanted to finish the joke. He started the joke and he never finished it. So damn it.
Somebody on the Facebook page thought they found. I think they found some kind of bit to the joke. I don't remember who posted it, so I'm sorry if I didn't give you credit. But it looked like it was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's a Reddit user, I think, came up with that joke or the ending of that joke, and it fits really well. It was years ago somebody came up with it, but it's been being reposted every time we hear the joke again or the beginning of the joke.
That's funny. The memes this year have been incredible, and all the
actors. I don't know if you guys follow any of the actors on social media. I try to follow most of them, and like Maisie Williams was on last night, like right after the episode aired, and she's like, she just posted on Twitter, "I'm just here for the memes," and of course, the internet unloaded like on her with all the greatest memes.
You know what? Samuel Tarly makes me wish for the days of Grandmaster Pycelle. Like Sam is so lame that I'm like, I need Pycelle back, man.
Oh, that's funny. That's a sad day when you want Pycelle back.
And I love Sam, but whatever. Keep on reading.
Oh, that's funny. So, Julie, thoughts on Tyrion?
Well, I really thought that scene where he went, I knew he wasn't looking for Dany. I knew he was looking to make sure that Jaime and Cersei got out. I knew that right away. But there's a couple of issues that I have with it, of course. So you mean to tell me that Lena and Nicholas could have walked a couple feet to the right and it'd have been fine? Like, where was all the rubble? Like, we saw it in the previous episode.
Hide in the skull.
Rubble just falling. And then where's all the fucking rubble? It's just, where is it? It's all gone. And it's just a pile of Cersei Lannister. And I mean, like, I don't know. It was just so stupid to me. But again, fucking, Peter Dinklage, man, you are a god and you are a man among men. Like, I fucking love this guy. The part where he was like banging the fucking stone and you could just feel it. Like, you could feel how like angry he was. It wasn't even that he was sad. He was fucking angry, that they couldn't get out and that Dany did this thing and now his brother and sister are gone and he's just done. And then he goes up and just has that boss moment where it's like, here comes Dany, everybody's cheering for her. And I'm like, here she comes. And how much am I going to hate her now? Even though I loved her 4 fucking episodes ago. And then, you know, it was very Hunger Games. I'm like, I'm glad we're being original here. It was all fucking Hunger Games. You know, from Winterfell to, I'm like, really? This is what we're going to do? And everybody who's like, they weren't putting her in a Mad Queen scenario. Yeah, well, guess what? They did. They fully fucking put her in that scenario in this episode. And we'll get to that when we get to that point. But, you know, when she said, you let out your brother, and he goes, I let out my brother, and you destroyed a city. Like, you know, he just was like, fuck it. Like, I'm going to die. There's nothing I can do about it. Here's your fucking pin. It's, you know, go fucking find it. Like, he was just done. And then, of course, there's Jon Snow, cardboard cutout, like, oh, Tyrion just did that. Oh, I should follow. I absolutely love Peter Dinklage, and everybody I couldn't agree with more. He totally deserves Emmy number 4. I mean, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal job. And Amelia, I think Amelia deserves an Emmy as well, even though it's not her fault they took the character where they did, but I think she did the best with it with what she could. And it's, you know, and we'll get to it over time, but Trin's right. You know, I mean, I feel grateful that the cinematography was good and all the people from the costume designers to the set designers, they did a phenomenal job. As for the writers and the producers, fuck you. I'm so angry that this is how Game of Thrones ended. I just feel like they don't give a fuck that we're upset. They got their money and they're done. They don't fucking care that we're upset. And we'll get through it even more, but just I'm just
woo. Hey, Julia, how do you feel about, I mean, this is the ending you're going to get in the book. So how do you feel about George Martin? You feel the same way about him? I'm just kind of
Absolutely. You mean to tell me that I've been sitting here for 6 years waiting for the final book? If I wanted a happy ending book from a game, I would have fucking got The Ugly Fucking Duckling. If I wanted a happy ending, I would have bought a fucking children's book. I read the Game of Thrones, I read A Song of Ice and Fire, and I watch the Game of Thrones, not because I wanted a happy fucking ending. Like, I had 1,000 different endings in my mind about how the show would end and even how the books would end. None of it was this. None of it. Because for how many books and how many seasons did we always have that ending of like, what the fuck, right? It was so unfulfilling.
Well,
like,
hey,
it was
Chris,
completely unfulfilling.
Well, this is for you too. This is actually for everybody kind of in the panel, but doesn't something have to kind of be said that when you read the books or you step into this television show and you watch it, you're stepping into somebody else's house, into their story. So I can't always, for me, I can't too much hold it against them for telling a story that we all are on a ride on. Now I get it. We've been at this for a lot of years, you know what I'm saying? I think the show's been out, 8 years? They've been working on the show for at least 10. And for me, I have to give them somewhat of a break because at the end of the day, of course, George R. R. Martin is the creator. It's his story. He gave them the liberties, look, George sold the rights and gave them the ability to do this. And to the best of his ability, he kind of stuck with it. But, he's a guy, he's busy, has a lot of things going on. But I do have to give them a little slack because, all of us as fans, we make the decision to take X amount of hours out of our day to sit down. And at the end of the day, all of these people, they don't necessarily get paid to make all of our dreams come true. They get paid for the attempt. And sometimes they throw things up against the wall and they work out, thus this being a hit series. So do any of y'all kind of feel like, in a way, we can't fully take ownership of something that wasn't truly ours to begin with?
Well, Yardley, let me just try to, and I want to address some of the comments that are on Facebook. I'm not upset because my theories didn't turn out to be true. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm going to address this like this. We have spent, I know Trin, myself, Andrea, even John, we have spent years reading these books, and, you know, all of us combined spent years watching the show, analyzing the show, going over the show for the BTIC community. You know, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for the community. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the hosts. But for that brief hour, or, you know, 80 minutes or however long an episode is, you get transported away from your pain, away from your feelings, away from all the bullshit that's going on in your life. And for those moments, you get to forget that you have all that. You're transported. When you sit down to read the book, you're transported. You're taken into a place where you don't have to think and feel about the real world. You're in a moment. It's like why I play video games, because I can forget, you know, all my troubles and all the issues that I have out in the outside world and in reality, you know? So for me, it's unfulfilling. And I think in a way you get so emotionally invested in the books, in the characters, in the show, like everything. Like some people are just show people. Some people are just book people. Some of us, you know, are crossovers for both. And I think for me, it feels unfulfilling, and it's just, I just wanted something more than this rush. And it just feels like, and I know Trin and I have talked about it, you know, the character that we loved, that we were invested in the books, and we were invested in the show, it took it to a place that we didn't want it to go. And that hurts us, and that affects us. You know, we try not to let it. Obviously we try to listen to everybody's point of view, but we're all going to have our favorites. I mean, Stomas is a Stark lover. You know, Chris likes the Lannisters. We all have our favorites, you know. Sure.
I want to jump in here real quick and answer this question and move us on to Danny. I think that the way I look at it is, you know, it ended. That's cool. But to kind of answer your question, I look at it the same way I look at things that I create as a creator. You know, I make these podcasts, I make YouTube videos, I wrote books online, and some people bought it. Some people laughed at me. Some people sent me hate mail. Some people's death threats. And it's like you can't make everybody happy. So you kind of get out there and you put your shit out there, and you kind of go with it, and you kind of roll with it. Go ahead, Trent.
This hopefully will make you feel better, Julie. Biggie wrote, I expect two mediocre TV writers to finish a book series that the author himself is struggling to write the ending to. So if you take that perspective going into this, and that's kind of how I had to come to terms with it and make my peace, was they didn't sign up for this. They didn't sign up to write the end. This is their version, and we just kind of have to go with it. And that it's not canon. like you can just remind yourself, this is not canon. This is just their show.
Yeah, but I mean, the outcome is still going to be the same.
Yeah, the outcome's still going to be the same. See, this is the thing that one of the reasons why I posed that question.
The major beats. Yes. I'm not even upset though.
Martin said that his ending is not going to be different. The secondary characters are going to have different things to do. I posted the link to him saying that.
And the journey, so did I. And the journey to get there will be different. So that's where I have the problem. I knew Dany was going to turn into the villain. I knew she was going to go Mad Queen, or however they were going to take her there to that point where she was the villain. That we've known that for years. We've talked about it on the show. That's not the point. It was how they transitioned her was too fast and really terrible. They didn't do it gracefully at all. So when George does it, I believe he's going to do it gracefully, and it's going to make sense.
No, I totally agree. Let's go over to Danny. It means we're talking about Danny. Yardley, wow, Danny.
Yeah, so all of the people who are Danny fans, I'm pretty sure that, of course, Julie said it pretty eloquently. A lot of people who are invested, especially in this character, probably felt some type of way, So everybody who went out and was rooting for Danny all these years, bought their babies Danny t-shirts and all of this stuff, it probably doesn't look the same this morning for their character have kind of fallen off the wagon. But this turn, and I totally agree with everything Trin said about pacing, because that's probably been most of our issues. was a result of pacing. But I also say, kind of along the lines of what Chris was saying, when you produce content, there's so many different reasons why the show is, the amount of episodes that it is. You have to think about, we as fans, we wanted this thing to probably go another 3 seasons, but who's to say that the actors, they have other opportunities that they want to pursue. As an actor, you kind of want to expand the things that you have been in. So we don't know what availability is. We don't know what everybody's ultimate interest is about, being on the show another 3 years. Different people have different things that are going on. So your accessibility to your talent, which is probably one of the most important things that they have in this show, I do think played a part in it. Because when we look at the year that they took off, ironically, that was a year where Sophie Turner's doing X-Men. You got Maisie Williams doing the New Mutants. You have so many people on this show that are tied up in different projects, and different people's contracts are different ways. So it's kind of like having a championship team. You win the Super Bowl and the team gets broken up. And I think that regardless of if they would have wanted to go longer, there was still a chance for something like that to happen. So, I kind of give them a mulligan on that, because I know that it's more than they just didn't feel like, giving us, all of these episodes. I think a lot of things went into that. But as far as Dany's character is concerned, her turn was kind of foreshadowed, sped up a little bit too much. But I guess we kind of found out that ultimately the wheel, as far as this character's iteration at the end, it couldn't be broken with her as the ruler, and still, even with the ending that we got in the episode, I still don't really feel like the wheel has been broken, and it won't be broken until apparently, Bran dies off. But for me, I'm 100% okay with her judgment being blurred and kind of leading to her downfall. I thought ultimately her desire to kind of expand her rule to everywhere, whether people liked it or not, was what kind of took Jon a little bit to the edge of saying, hey, I've got to really do something about that. That, and also the fact that his family was threatened. So I kind of get ultimately why Jon Snow killed her. But I thought it was cool how they did the callback to the dream that she had of her touching the throne. And the fact that she won but never got to sit in the throne and actually do anything on the throne is a very a song of ice and fire to me. I mean, we have a lot of times we think that a person is going in a certain direction and then they kind of fall back. And unfortunately, sometimes when you fall back, you don't necessarily get another chance. So I didn't really mind how her arc ended, but just like Julie and Trent and everybody on the panel, we probably agree it would have been nice if we could have gotten a little bit more between her and Jon this season. I posted on Facebook about on the show page about how I kind of wish that the Battle for Winterfell and all of the stuff with the Night King would have wrapped at the end of last season, and that way this season they could have potentially have focused more on some of the moments. As Trent said, hey,
Definitely.
I fell in love with the show, but for the character moments, I didn't fall in love with the show for all of these action sequences. And I think the action sequences to close out the show, I think it was good for a TV show because you need that. But I think that some of the stuff that a certain segment of fandom liked had to take a back seat. I would have gladly taken, half of the Winterfell episode, the Battle for Winterfell. It could have been half as awesome. And we would have gotten a little bit more on this end. I just felt like when you're leading up to this, I do think that to kind of do the things that made everybody fall in love with the show to begin with, that's the way that you need to close it out. But the spectacle, I also get why they did it. You need that for a TV show because some people, as Julie was saying, you tune in to turn everything off, but there's a large percentage of people who are Game of Thrones fans who are like, fuck that shit. I just want to see people fight. You know what I mean? So yeah. You've got to give them something too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find, I know that everyone besides me knew that Dany was going to go, full cray-cray. I didn't foresee that. I don't foresee anything. You guys know me. I am terrible at this stuff. I was really hoping that when Jon went to go talk to her after her big, her big moment of I'm gonna break the wheel, and thank you, Dothraki, for coming with me and tearing down the stone houses and Unsullied, yay, and Grey Worm, you're my new head of war because I'm a fucking lunatic. I was really hoping that when Jon and Dany were together talking kind of quietly in the throne room, there was also what an awesome nod back to her at the House of the Undying with her vision, right? I mean, it wasn't snow, it was ashes. It was ashes. So she's talking to Jon and, she's like, rule with me, yada, yada. There was a brief moment where I thought, Dany, you're going to start crying and realize that you snapped and that you realized you did something wrong. Because the only reason why I say that is because that's what I wanted to happen. Yeah. And I after watching that scene play out, and then I thought, oh, here we go. She's going to get stabbed. Jon is going to do it. I didn't think he had the balls, and I apologize to all the Stark fans. I did not think that Jon was going to do his duty and well, maybe not duty.
And so, anyway, go.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's an excellent point. Thank you for bringing it up.
He hung a friggin' 11-year-old, bro. He had the heart to do that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He did what was best for the realm.
Well, always. I guess a lot of my issue with Dany was
Somebody want to send Jon Snow a bottle of lube.
Yeah. Now that I've had some time to kind of think
too
about
late.
it.
He just all over our Facebook page. If you saw all those posts, Stark's on top.
Right,
Stark's on top.
Yeah, right.
WD-40, Julie.
So basically, Stomach, you're saying you're a bottom.
Oh
well, either way, I think
make your joke. I don't care.
It was the point I was trying to make was that when I saw Dany this season, I thought that I was convinced that she was going to be the hero, and I was wrong because like I said, I don't see foreshadowing, and that's what had me initially disappointed that she didn't even have any remorse. She's like, I'm in charge, and like Big E says, people don't get to choose. That was a big red flag. That's like total dictatorship or monarchy. I'm the only one that can choose, and I'm the only one that's right. And I thought, shit. And then, of course, Jon sticks it to her. He stuck her twice, and that was the second time he stuck her. Jon?
Hey,
let me ask you a question, Chris.
Jonathan.
What do you think? Sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying, Jon, what did you think about the Drogon coming out of the snow? Wasn't that cool as fuck?
That was
cool or the ash? That was ash, though, right? Yeah.
Was it snow or ash?
I thought it was snow. I
think
it's snow.
I think it was ash, though. I don't know. I liked it. It was really cool. Chris, what do you think she meant by breaking the wheel?
I think that exactly what Varys, I think it was Varys or Tyrion, one of those characters said that she believed that she was destined to make change. Now, the villain never stands up on a pedestal and says, everyone, look at me. I am the villain, and I'm going to make everything better because, in my opinion, or from my perspective, because I'm the villain, and if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. Maybe the closest thing we had to that was Littlefinger. But I think that Dany had won and had so many different victories, and of course losses, that she felt that her way was the right way and that her path was the breaking of the wheel, and that there could be no other answer to that except for what she believed was correct. Go ahead, Jon.
Her breaking the wheel was wiping out all the major lords and houses of Westeros so that it's just common people, and then going to the rest of the world and doing the same thing. Okay, that's evil. Okay, that was her breaking the wheel. It's her wiping out.
That was
because she said we're going to go to Winterfell.
Okay, whoa. You guys can't talk over each other.
Let me finish. That was the second part of my answer that I wasn't able to get to because I wanted to get you in there. However, what I'm trying to say is that from her perspective, she did not see herself as the villain. That was my point. The villain never thinks that they're the villain.
Truth.
Oh, I agree.
He believed it was her destiny, though, and that her whole life had been leading up to that. And honestly, we were rooting for her up until the moment the bells struck. Every single person who watches this show and has watched it for 8 years was rooting for Dany to succeed in everything she did up until the bells rang. And so she believed going forward that I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to make the world a better place. and she's had those conversations with people. I'm making the world a better place. But then, like, all of a sudden, she does something that's pretty tragic and pretty epic. And everybody's like, oh shit, now you're terrible. What? Like everybody else got a mulligan. Why can't she get one?
Yeah.
Chris Gray will tell you, I never rooted for Dany. So
Never.
I
Me
never
too.
ever. So
Never.
I was tap dancing in the streets.
Yeah. Cersei was your boo.
Yes.
Trin, how awesome was the scene with Drogon? The wings part. Oh wow,
those wings though, that was pretty epic. Like the visuals here are just really stunning, and Dany is still the moon of my life. I don't care. Like she is. I love her.
Me too.
And I know that, like I said before, there are no black and white characters here. Everybody's gray, but she didn't. She was given a really shitty hand, and she did really well with it, and took herself a really long way.
Yeah.
Hey, shush, peanut gallery.
Absolutely.
And
much as I
when
like
she,
Dany, I started to come around. Y'all.
Yeah,
But you know what? Yardley is right though. Dany and Cersei, I mean, straight up, they have been the most consistent to their character arc, because up until this season with Dany, though, Trin, you know what I mean? But Cersei has always been a backstabbing bitch, and people have loved her for it, and she never hid it. That's who she was. And Dany was always felt destined to break the wheel. That's how she always felt. Even when she got all cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs last episode, she still believed that was her destiny, even though they wrote it really badly. But, they really have been themselves throughout the entire process, with the exception of Dany in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, good points, Julie. Well, let me ask y'all this. Do y'all kind of feel like in Cersei's case, she was a bitch, but she didn't mind showing it?
She was upfront about it, though.
But Dany, when Dany was a bitch, nobody saw it. So it was still, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like what Tyrion said. Remember what Tyrion said? That, she crucified all
the people of Astor, the Bastapor, yeah.
The people, because they were evil, quote unquote evil, and she killed the slavers because they were evil, and it's like, yeah.
Well, you know what, Chris?
Murder.
And Trin and I'll probably have multiple conversations about this when we break down Dany's full character after we do, But for me, and I agree with Trin, she thought what she was doing was right. I mean, you think about where she came from. She was born on a stormy night and her mother died. She had to be put on a boat and sent away because people were trying to kill her, and then she gets over to Essos and her brother treats her like garbage, and he sells her as a sex slave to a Dothraki horse lord because he wants his army to take back the throne. And she had to deal with like so much shit. And then finally she breaks free of that. And she feels like, she goes through this arc of helping the little person, which I think for me and Trin, that's one of the things that really endeared us to her, is that she stood up for these people that had no voice, that couldn't defend themselves. And I think that is what endeared, for me personally, that's what endeared me to Dany. Go ahead, Chris.
Trin, was there anything else about Dany you wanted to say? Because I know you got cut off earlier.
Oh, just that I really believe that her story her character would have played out very differently had she had some advisors or someone close to her who could have tempered her. And I believe that's what Jon was supposed to have done. And he never had that conversation with her before the bells rang. And there were so many opportunities because she didn't have Missandei or Jorah or anybody before. And Grey Worm doesn't really count because he's just a soldier and a war guy. And so Jon was that person. And Jon has the personality and the words, and he just didn't use them. So I'm forever disappointed and blaming Jon Snow for all of the destruction, because he really could have made a huge difference. And really, when you think about it, it comes down to Bran. It was Bran's fault. Bran didn't need to tell Jon who he was until after the war was over.
You.
And that
Thank
could have
you.
solved all of this. So really, Bran was pulling the strings and making himself king. I'm done.
The puppet master.
Thank
John,
you.
tell us about what you think. We're still on Dany, keep in mind. Try to stay on the topic so we can get through and we can kind of go crazy at the end. Tell us a little bit what it's all about Dany, the scenes that she was in, her character up to this point.
I mean, that speech, it was evil. She's evil. It was a good speech. I mean, I liked it. Like I said earlier, her breaking the wheel was wiping out all the major houses, and this way, her breaking the wheel was establishing a Targaryen rule that no one's going to threaten forever. That's her breaking the wheel. Wiping out all the major high lords and houses. She made that speech from Winterfell to Dorne, whatever, Castle Rock to, and then she's talking about conquering the rest of the world. She's evil. And then I did like the throne room scene where she's like, my brother said there's 1,000 swords, but what does a child know about 1,000 when she really could only count to 20? I thought that whole interaction was good. Like she's like, no mercy. I mean, Emilia Clarke, first of all, I'm gonna say she wins. She should win an Emmy. And for you guys, if you don't know, check her out on Instagram. She suffered 2 brain aneurysms filming this show. She started a charity based on that, about neurological things for young people. So I think she needs to win an Emmy. She was outstanding. But yeah, she deserved to die. I'm sorry, I have to say it to all you Targaryen fans. She deserved to die. Jon did what's right for the realm. So Drogon, though, that scene was, I will say, that was really heartbreaking, where Drogon is like nudging Dany and she's like not moving, and then he goes crazy and just melts down the throne and then picks her up and carries her away to, I'm gonna guess, Valyria.
Somewhere.
So, I think Valyria she's a Targaryen. She's Valyrian, probably to Valyria.
That was an amazing scene. CGI was beautiful. That was way more important than Arya appearing on a horse and just riding off, than the horse appearing and her riding off. I still don't know what the fuck that meant at this point. We're gonna do an episode based on all that shit that never kind of got tied up, because that was something I thought was stupid. Let's see, Julie, any more thoughts on Dany before we move on?
Yeah, Chris, I was like you when she was walking through that throne room. For a moment, I wanted her. You can even ask my mom. I really wanted her to remember back to the House of the Undying Visions. And I wanted her to remember, and snap out of whatever it is that she was in. What bothers me about it is that they did take her to the Mad Queen. I was, we had debated about it, whether or not that's where they were taking her. Some people said no. Trin and I were fully on, yep, that's where they're taking her. And it proved to it, when Jon is having that conversation with her. I saw the Unsullied with unarmed prisoners, and then, women and children burned, and she basically gave no fucks. And that, that's what I think, that's where it really pissed me off. And I said, and I just knew that was it. I knew Dany was done. I mean, we all agree, I think, and somebody on Facebook said it. Sorry, guys. I'm really, I can't even tell you how upset I am. Somebody on Facebook said that, Dany died the minute in the last episode, the minute the bells rang. That was Dany gone. There was no more Dany. Yep. Dany didn't exist. It was Daenerys Targaryen, the first of her name. It was all what they did. They wrote her as a Mad Queen when they have that exchange. And then the moment where Jon and her are embracing, I'm thinking, okay, here we go. This is good. Okay, he's gonna snap her out of it. He's gonna do all this, and then what does he do? He punks out and he stabs her in the fucking heart. He is no better. So you can, Stomas, you could sit there and say all you want that, Stark is, Jon is honorable and this and that. He's a queen killer. He's a queen slayer. It's not honorable. Why? He stopped her because he didn't like what she was about to do? Listen.
That's a good point you make. I don't want to get too far into this, but I remember Jon giving Jaime a bunch of shit for being a Kingslayer, and he was unredeemable.
Yep.
But it's okay when it's Jon.
And and right there, there it is. But so
Jaime didn't even kiss King first.
Truth, right? You'll always be my queen, and then stab, and I'm just like, you motherfucker, you piece of shit. Like I was done. And I also, for all of you people who did not get to listen to the after show that we did last week after we were done, I made a bet.
Oh, yes.
General Jon. Now shut up.
Yes.
Stop talking for like a half a second. I made a bet with Jon Snow, everybody. It was the stupidest bet that Julie could have made. Because I said to Jon, if Dany kills Jon, you have to get a Targaryen tattoo. And if Jon kills Dany, I have to get a direwolf tattoo. Well, I made the bet because I didn't think that Jon was going to kill Dany. I thought it was going to be Arya. I thought it was going to be somebody else. They were going to pussy out on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will live up to my end of the bet. I will. As soon as I get back on my feet and everything goes good, I will get that damn tattoo. I'll put that stupid fucking direwolf right on my right ass cheek so that Stomos at the next Fire and Ice Con can kiss my right butt cheek. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. Everything that fucking happened didn't even need to happen. If Jon had just, been a man and wised up. But let's talk about this for a second. Why does it even matter that Jon fucking Snow is a Targaryen? They didn't even need to tell him his lineage. It was pointless.
Why did he come back from the dead?
Right. Why? It was fucking pointless.
Why?
We're going to get
But I also want to say this, Chris. The Drogon scene, I literally cried. Literally fucking cried. When he came in and he made that sound and then he pushed her and then he picked her up, I was like, Mom, I can't. And I had to walk out. I was like, I literally couldn't. It was so emotional for me.
Yeah.
And it's like when somebody in the chat said, I'm just thinking that she faked her death and Drogon took her away back to Essos. I'm going to run with that. I didn't even think about that. That's what I'm going to run with.
What Drogon did was take her back to Volantis to get resurrected by the Red Priests.
But also, here's another thing that I want people to think about. That dragon burned that throne because he knew what it did to his mother. It turned her into something she wasn't. That was symbolic when Drogon decided not to burn Jon. We don't even know if he would have been able, he burned. Like, obviously we wouldn't have known that. But when that dragon burned that throne, that was symbolic of him saying, fuck that throne, because look at what she did. Look at who she became. That's not who she was.
Way more.
That's how I took it.
Than the horse. Way more.
Dude, what the? And then all of a sudden she doesn't have the fucking horse. Like, where'd the horse go, Chris? Where did it go?
Horse?
I don't know. I don't know.
Whose horse?
Wasn't that the same horse that he had in that episode that he was in? No,
I don't
think it might have been.
That's funny.
It had bangs. That's how I remember.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And we also got another shot of the daughter and the mother that had the horse statue or doll. They were laying in a corpse, and then you see Tyrion looking at it, and I thought, okay, is this more significance? I don't even
like Shireen 2.0, because we need to take these symbolisms and double them every time and use them until our audience is sick of them.
Every time.
Cut all that. That's all fat to me. Cut it out and get this thing leaned. Get it lean and mean, and add more story if you can.
Hey, fat gives it flavor, though, man. Come on.
Well, that's true.
Thick thighs save lives, my friends.
Jon Snow. I know that Jonathan Stomos Starklever is dying to get in on this thing because he got his bottle of lube and he's ready to go. But I'm going to let Yardley lead us into the Jon Snow conversation. So, what do you say about Jon Snow and his relationship with Dany?
Oh, you know what? To me, come back to me after Jon. I actually want to hear Jon go first.
Okay,
Jon, go.
Yeah, let's let him get, the fact
Get it all
out of the
out.
way.
Get it all.
apologize now, audience. John is about to blow his load. If you want to, you can skip this part of the podcast, or you can enjoy
John,
it.
do you have a good box of tissues next to you? You have a sock? You ready to go, buddy?
I'm gonna go get another drink. I'll be right.
Yes, go, John, go.
Jon Snow is a hero of Westeros. He did the right thing, like he always does. He put himself, but he put what's doing the right thing above himself. He knew he was gonna die. He stood there where he didn't try to. Drogon was right there. He thought he was gonna get burned alive. I mean, he did what he gave up his life to save the realm by killing Dany. You know, he pretty much thought he was gonna be dead in that prison cell. Like he pretty much figured, yeah, I'm gonna be dead. But John did was right. He was conflicted the whole episode. You could tell him walking down, the look on his face. He was conflicted. Like he loves Dany, but she did this bad thing. The whole conversation with Tyrion, all that stuff. John, I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I'm trying to control myself here. John, John's the best. I think he's the best character of this show. He's the best. I love John. He's my boy. I love his ending. He's going beyond he's gonna become king beyond the wall. I kind of think the Starks conned Grey Worm, because if Bran, who knows everything, knew that Tormund was at Castle Black, so sending him to the wall was really just to get Jon beyond the wall. And I'm so happy he reunited with Ghost and he hugged Ghost. But I mean, I'm trying to. He did the right thing. I love Jon.
Tell us more about how you love Jon. Yeah. I don't think
our
audience knows
so
yet.
Excited. You have to understand. This episode for me. It's the Starks. Like, it ended with the Starks, and it's just it's just so amazing, because the show started with the Starks. It ended with the Starks, and it's we're on top. We now rule 8.
We're on top.
Kingdoms.
You're not a Stark.
We're on the Stark. We rule 8 kingdoms. Arya's probably going to go. She's Christopher Columbus. She discovers some new land and conquer that too. So we're just going to end. So Arya's the queen of the new world.
Christopher Columbus didn't discover anything.
Doesn't matter. Anyways,
it does matter.
Arya,
Facts matter.
Who cares? I'm Canadian. I don't care. Okay.
Marks, keep going.
Yes. So, I mean, there's nothing more like I say. He
you
killed the
have
person he loved.
the same amount of dialogue that Jon did. You're my queen,
exactly.
and I don't want to be king. You're my queen, and I don't want to be king. You're my queen, and I don't want to be king. And then Jon Snow says, "I love the Starks. I love the Starks. I love Jon Snow."
I think it's a happy ending, but
he's my boy.
Here's the thing: people
think
it's a happy ending. Jon has to live with killing the person he loves. He has to be. He's a kinslayer, a queenslayer at the same time. He's got to live with that for the rest of his life. There's that bittersweet ending, because I mean, to be a kinslayer and a queenslayer, to kill the person you love, all to do what's right for the realm. He's got to live with that. But Jon is a hero. I'm done.
All right, I'm going to give Jon credit, not you, Stomas. I'm talking about Jon Snow. I'll give him credit for doing what he had to do to protect the people of Westeros, knowing exactly what was going to happen. But let's not forget, the reason why he took action in the first place is because of Tyrion Lannister. When he went to talk to Tyrion when he was locked up, Tyrion, who is a Lannister, saved the fucking realm.
And
just so you all know
Chris's
that.
House, everybody.
There you go. Boom.
We've got a Lannister, a Stark, and 2.
Jon was drinking that Dany Kool-Aid this whole fucking season, except for when he talked.
So was Tyrion.
Well, yeah, so was Tyrion. But Tyrion got to see
Tyrion
her.
came to light.
Tyrion got to see her before she got to Westeros and started getting a little bit power crazy. So he started to believe that dream of breaking the wheel, and believed that she was going to be a good ruler. And I think that when he first met her, that was kind of, she was more sane at the time. Go ahead, Trin.
Anybody else agree with this statement? Okay, let me make sure I get my words right.
Take your time, girl. Take your time, girl.
I can totally believe and totally buy into Tyrion completely being in love with Dany way more than I can buy Jon being in love with Dany. Like, their chemistry.
Preach it, sister.
I think
preach it.
Like, Tyrion actually showed how much he loved and was willing to follow Dany,
Fucking
even through all of some craziness. Whereas Jon just was fucking mute. like, and scared
Fucking
of her.
preach.
And I just think that, like, I feel like Tyrion, like, it might not have been his romantic sort of way. Like, there could have been some hints of that, but he really loved Dany. And I just didn't get that from Jon. I didn't see their relationship, their romance, their chemistry at all. I never got it.
He knew he was a Targaryen.
Right.
It was still awkward.
When they were hot and steamy, it still didn't match. I don't know.
Yeah.
6 episodes ago, I couldn't see in the chat, I lost it, but 6 episodes ago, Dany and Jon made flippity flop.
Yeah.
And that was the extent of their, I mean, and they rode on dragons together, you know, they did that thing. But, like, I don't see the big love story that was supposed to be there. The big love story
I
was
agree.
Ygritte and Jon Snow.
Yeah.
Not
Agree.
Khal Drogo and and Dany, I totally 100% in with that relationship.
Dany.
Yeah, on Jorah's part, sure, for sure.
Well,
and at the end, when she cried over his body, why didn't we see Jon? Why didn't we see Jon cry over Dany? He was just like, sort of like, I just killed the love of my life. Awkward. Like, I no buy-in.
Rush story.
Yeah.
Maybe Dany was crying because she didn't get a chance to sit on it.
No.
Maybe.
He's probably got a teeny weeny.
I could have
That's why they didn't have it again.
Before you took these darts for me, Jorah.
Yeah, Ashley in the chat, it says even fucking Dario. Like, yeah,
Dario,
I totally bought Dany and Dario way more than Dany and Jon.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say on this podcast that Dario was gonna like ride in at the end something and
I don't know who it was. I think it was Jon. But
it was not me. It was not me.
I think there was a discussion amongst all of us about Dario possibly showing up with the Golden Company.
Yeah, that he was infiltrated the Gold Company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Yardley, you're up, buddy, on the Jon Snow.
You know what? Seeing where Jon Snow ends up at the end of this episode, it just kind of reinforces what I mentioned before, that, you know, Jon Snow is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Westeros. Like, he's always in over his head, and somehow, and not always by a fault of his own, but he always ends up Scooby-Dooing his way out of the situation. We were talking the other day. Remember when we were just talking about how he's like the hero had a real huge hero moment? And I get it. Not everybody's going to have this super grand moment, but I think for him, having been a character, I think a lot of us were kind of clouded in our judgment as far as to what type of hero he could be. He has done a few heroic things, but I agree with everybody else. He's just someone who kind of wanted to be his own person, and a lot of weight has been put on his shoulders that he didn't want. So as a character from that standpoint, when you get responsibilities that you didn't ask for, and even if you end up making a bad decision, you still step up to the plate to do it. I can give Jon Snow at least that credit, but he was out of his depth for a lot of this series, but ultimately, you know, he's still alive. And as far as Jon's relationship with Dany, I figured that their relationship was not only based on the mutual threat of what the Night King was going to do to man, but a lot of the love that he and Dany had on each other without their relationship having gone back a little bit longer, a lot of it was just based off of ignorance. They didn't really know each other probably as well as they should have. Their relationship in the beginning, remember, it was just a business arrangement. And then they started kind of falling for each other a little bit. So I think that their relationship suffered because it was just based off of business at first. And I don't really think that they got to know each other. Some of that, you know, might be, you know, an issue with the pacing of the season. But I just think that when these two characters first, you know, hit it off with each other, I thought that it was, you know, the foundation of their relationship was kind of shaky. And Jon Snow's arc, the epitome of things going full circle. And I'm kind of good where he ended up, because he ended up in the place where his story started, you know, back in the pilot, you know, or by the second episode or whatever of the season. And there was kind of a sense of sadness and relief for Jon when his whole story arc was over, because his responsibilities aren't as broad, and the only thing that he's responsible for is kind of surviving, in the true North. So for me, his story kind of closed out, being forced to leave everything behind, and the reason why was to protect his life. The same way as Ned Stark had him take the black and the pilot in order to protect his life. So the same situation made him end up being in the same place. And, I do kind of like the notion that Jon Snow is the type of person who really did have an influence on how things played out, but he might suffer, in a way, partially the same fate of people not really appreciating the things that he did. So he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, but Obi-Wan Kenobi is still one of my favorite characters. I just don't think that his character is the type of prototypical hero that we're used to, but we didn't really sign up for the show for the same old. So, it is what it is.
I'm going to go to Trin next, but before I do, I got a couple things I got to interject. One, welcome Catherine to the show. And her comment is, anyone else think that John always looks like he's getting some while the podcast is going on? And he does. He's back there like, yeah.
It's Jon Snow on his knees making sure that the dire wolf comes out.
Okay, so I just got to say about Jon Snow. I feel like Jon Snow's character, I'm okay with his ending, but I'm also not okay with his ending. I mean, I'm just going to say real quick across the board, I'm glad with the ending of the show. Last night I was pissed, totally pissed off. Well, not pissed off, but I was disappointed. But now I sat on it, watched a little bit today. I'm a lot better with it. I'm a little disappointed for Jon Snow's character, at least from my perspective of how I wanted to see it end for him. He went from being the bastard to doing all these heroic things, being an awesome sword fighter, saving the helping to save the world from the army of the dead, the Battle of the Bastards. And yeah, you're right. He was Scooby-Dooed out of all kinds of crap. However, I feel like he should have gotten something better than just, yeah, you're going to go up to the north and freeze your balls off. And I know that people are saying, well, that's where Jon Snow belongs. But I never heard Jon Snow say, yeah, that's where I should go. I'm going to go up north and hang out there and have my balls frozen. So I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it kind of sucked. Like, here's your great reward for all these things that you did. You're going to go freeze your balls off for the Night's Watch that doesn't need to exist anymore. There's no Night King anymore. The wildlings aren't a problem anymore.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's true. And a quarter of the wall is down. So what the flipping shit? I don't get it.
At least he's alive, I guess, if that's the choice, Chris.
That's
just
true.
Like, but I got that the way that ended is he's leaving. He's going with the wildlings to be on the wall. That he's not even staying with the Night's Watch. Says who?
He didn't do
the fucking king.
Jon Snow would be at the wall.
He's leaving the wall. What I got was him looking, turning back, seeing the thing closing, and him going beyond the wall with Tormund and staying with Tormund. That's what I mean. Again, it could be a perception thing, but I got him leaving with Tormund.
No, I think that's the wall. I think that's the case, and I understand the way they wrote him that's where he belongs in the north. But the best part about Jon Snow this season, in my opinion, and then I'm going to let Trin go because it's her turn, is Jon Snow killed Dany because Dany did big time wrong and needed to die to break the wheel because she was a representation of the wheel, well, part of it anyway. And two, he finally gave Ghost some fucking attention. That's it. I'm happy for that. Trin.
You kind of said everything that was in my notes.
So,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's cool. Yeah. So for Jon, we're talking about Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm.
I've already said this. I was never sold on his love for Dany. He had one job, and his job was he was supposed to temper Dany. That was his job. They needed more dialogue for that to happen, and we never got that dialogue. They showed us starting to have conversations between the two of them, and then they would get interrupted. And that happened quite a few times at the beginning of the series or at the beginning of the season. And then we never got... They always had this sort of brick wall up where it would come to the point in the conversation where Dany was like, oh, I want the throne, and Jon's like, I don't want the throne and you're my queen. And they fucking ended it there every time. And it was really frustrating because, like, can you guys have a conversation with some substance? Talk about your relationship or something
Season 7.
outside of it? I know. And so they didn't even get to know each other. Like, come on. Anyway, Jon's ending was annoying because, number one, why is there a wall, like Chris just said? And somebody, Biggie, tagged me in a comment, and he said, if Jon deserts the Night's Watch, will the Queen in the North behead him? Which is a great question, because how do the politics work now? Does the wall belong to the North? Because Bran sent him up there, and he's the king of the 6 kingdoms, and Sansa's the queen of the 7 kingdoms. So who owns the wall, or whose jurisdiction is that now? So if anybody deserts the Night's Watch, why do we have a Night's Watch? Just to send all of our criminals to? Because the wall isn't even all the way up, so people could literally just pass through whenever they want. So it doesn't make sense. They didn't tie up all the loose ends. It's super annoying. And to top it all off, Jon is getting off easy. He has he doesn't have to take responsibility for anything he did. He gets to go vacation in the North, the true North, where he's supposed to be, according to Tormund. So why was he resurrected in the first place? Just to kill Dany? That's crap.
Absolutely crap. And R plus L equals J for what fucking reason?
Thank you.
What create conflict between Jon and Dany? To create conflict between Jon and Dany.
They could have
they could have created conflict every other way.
No, they
a lot of story.
Okay.
Just to make
why to create conflict though? Like why? What's the point of the conflict?
What's the
just
fucking
to make
point?
a villain?
To turn I guess that I don't just to turn Dany, because I guess that's why, just to turn Dany and to get the reason.
Okay,
the reason Jon.
Jon, I want you to think about a good answer to that question. I want you to write it down, and we're going to do a podcast about it. What was the real point? And this is what we're going to title this shit.
Yeah.
What was the real point of R plus J, or
R plus L
equals J?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about, Jon.
What's the point? And the point of his resurrection.
Okay, that's add that on there. Write it down. That's your shit. Find a way to prove why it makes sense, and we're gonna have Andrea rip it apart. Well, we're all gonna rip it apart. It's gonna be a podcast where we attack you. I'm not gonna lie. That's exactly. Jon, I love you to death, man. You can take that.
Just to,
go ahead.
The comment on Trent said I think it would fall under Sansa's domain as queen. She's queen in the North, and the only reason they sent him there was to please Grey Worm, but Grey Worm left with the Unsullied. So if he deserts, who's gonna care? It was all to make peace, right? Because Sansa, if you go back to the council, Sansa's like, "Where's Jon?" He's like, "He's got to punish," and they agreed to please Grey Worm and the Unsullied. They send Jon to the wall, but now they're going north. They're going back to north to. I don't know. I
where?
guess to the island of, is it Narth or whatever it's called?
N-A-T-H. There's no R. Narth.
So it's not really. There's not really anyone there to enforce whether Jon stays there, and there's only like 3 Night's Watch guys there, anyways. Like, come on, like.
Catherine says, "Little Sam was the only baby to be born and survive in the whole 10 years."
Yeah,
that's true, because there was comments in the chat about Jon and Dany having sex. Why? Dany was never pregnant. Like, come on. There was so many different loose ends.
Yeah, Yardley, I read your show notes earlier, and I don't know if you took them out or not, but I feel like you were totally shitting on me about the pregnancy thing.
Oh, about the pregnancy thing? Yeah. You gotta toss those theories kind of in the garbage can. I will say
I still don't think that for the books, though, because Dany's prophecy definitely says when you birth a living child in the prophecy.
That's some high level shit, though.
No. I'm saying for the books, I really do think that she's gonna come up pregnant and give birth, because that when the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. The end of that prophecy says you will bear a living child. So I do think we're gonna see her have a baby in the books.
It's definitely possible. I'm trying to remember what was the comment? Because I remember I highlighted it. I think it was red. It was something along.
You were just saying like, all you people who think
Oh.
there's going to be a baby.
but to my credit, I stood by that. I was like,
yes, I know you did. And I was always like, I'm holding out for a baby because I thought it would create more conflict and Jon would really have to like, get himself up by the balls to kill her if she's carrying his baby. That would be even harder and more of a challenge and fucking more interesting to the story, honestly.
Well, I kind of like the fact that you've got Tyrion, the last Lannister. Well, I think they've got cousins or whatever, but I kind of like the idea of, we see all through the series that there are a lot of houses that have totally gone to the wayside since the story has started, of it being no more. And I don't really mind that being the case for the Targaryens. You know what I mean? I think that makes it, even more tragic and whatnot. And to be honest with you, I think if Dany had a baby, it would have been way more of a happy ending than I would have been able to stomach, to be honest with you.
I definitely see you there. It's funny. I wonder how did people get these? So like I noticed that people predicted this to a T. I feel like people saw some kind of fucking spoilers or something I missed. Because there were some people that got some shit right pretty.
Reddit?
Was there something on Reddit? Because
there was stuff on Reddit. Yeah.
If you looked at the threads leading up to the last two episodes, pretty much like every other theory was something that you probably could have saw straight off of Reddit. And I'm like, yeah, everybody's went ahead, has kind of packed it in. Because remember, before the season started, I think Trend was the same way. I think we were all saying, hey, we're kind of trying to stay away, from getting spoiled. There's only 6 episodes left. I think we don't have to really be that thirsty. But as you all know, on the internet, people are always going to drop, they're going to drop a spoiler.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you kind of get curious. And I have to admit, there was one point a few episodes back, I think the Reddit, the Free Folk, because that's one of the more popular threads there on Reddit. They're known for having, different spoilers. So when I went on there and I saw a spoiler for, I think it was episode, not the last two episode. What happened in episode?
Before Rhaegal died.
Yeah,
and people were posting screenshots of Rhaegal before the episode came out.
That's what it was. And I was like, oh, let me check out this Free Folk thing. And that's like one of the first things that I had kind of ran across. And I was like, oh gosh. And then I kind of stopped. But after the fact, if you go back and you look at Reddit, you can tell that a lot of people totally pulled from their stuff.
Yeah.
Julie, do you have any thoughts on Jon Snow before we move on? The Starks. So this is what we have left, and we only have about 40 minutes left.
Okay.
We have the Starks, Arya and Sansa. I want to talk about the 6 Kingdoms, and of course the Wheel Creeper. Ron and Sam and Davos. So we got some stuff to talk about. We only have about 40 minutes. So
okay. So Jon Snow is not a fucking hero. Excuse me. Aegon Targaryen. Let's call him by his real fucking name. Since we just wasted an entire fucking season knowing that he was, and they're like, you got to tell Jon. He's got to know. Why? Why the fuck does he need to know? At what point? What purpose does it fucking serve? What purpose did it serve? That Jon knew. No, I don't want to hear this bullshit to separate him and Daddy so that Daddy would feel sad. I don't want to fucking hear that shit. Give me a better fucking answer than the reason why he had to know his lineage was because of Dany. Give me a better fucking reason than that. Because that's a piss poor fucking reason, by the way. And by the way, I'm going to be the first one to point this out. And if all of y'all have been listening to this podcast, you will know that I always wanted R plus L equals J. I wanted it from the fucking jump. Now that I have it, I don't fucking want it anymore. Put that shit back in the fucking toothpaste tube. Right? Fuck that shit. There's no fucking point for Jon to know that he's Aegon Targaryen. No fucking point. So you mean to tell me that he gets to stab the queen in the fucking heart and he gets to walk away He gets to walk away. He gets to go to the north, like Chris said, and have a fucking vacation. He gets to go to the north and fap off with fucking Jon Snow and Tormund. Come the fuck on. What bullshit? What fuck? Listen, Jon Snow's character this season is fucking garbage. It's fucking trash.
That's right.
They did a huge disservice to Jon's character because he was nothing more than a cardboard fucking cutout.
That's right.
He couldn't get past the dragon. Who had to do it? Fucking Arya. And I'm still going Arya 2020. That's what's up. Okay. And then the Battle of the Bastards. He's getting crushed. Who saves his ass? Sansa Stark. Queen Sansa Stark.
Hell yeah.
Okay. He's getting fucking annihilated across the wall when he's trying to get the White Walker. What happens? Dany saves his fucking ass. Get the fuck out of here. All you people that said Jon was going to be a better leader. Fuck you. He was a cardboard fucking cutout. He was a cardboard fucking cutout. And they did a massive disservice to his character. Because again, we're going to go back to it. Why the fuck bring him back to life? Why? It was such bullshit. The whole, okay, Jon gets stabbed because he does the right thing by letting the free folk in. He dies for it, and then he gets brought back to life just so he could kill a kid. He had to do what he had to do. I mean, come on, you got to do what you got to do, right?
He's evil. That's evil.
It's okay for Jon to fucking kill a kid, but it's not okay for Dany to burn slave owners. I see how it works. Julie understands. Sorry, y'all don't understand. I get it. Y'all don't get it. Fuck Jon Snow. Fuck Aegon Targaryen. Fuck it.
I don't want to stop her, but I know I'm going to get so much hate mail from this.
You know what? I would
send Julie hate mail at gmail.com.
I would love to see Julie in the room with Jon Snow and Daenerys in that fucking scene.
Oh, that would have been funny.
I would have been right in his face. Like, you motherfucker, don't stab her.
They would have just gave the keys to Julie and walked out.
Oh, that is so funny. Good year. I think that a lot of what Julie is saying, I kind of agree with. Hashtag Jon Snow cardboard cutout. I think that's too long.
Send Julie hate mail at gmail.com. He's not the savior.
Jon.
Savior of Westeros.
No, he's not.
Targaryen. Mr.
He literally had to get saved by everyone else. Oh my goodness.
Jon, wait, Jon, are you seriously saying
Arya's the savior of Westeros?
You are seriously saying that Jon Snow, who kissed her and then stabbed her in the heart, because that's so fucking honorable, can't even hey baby, I gotta stab you because you're getting a little crazy.
Ned Stark wouldn't have done that.
You're my queen. You always will be. Stab in the fucking heart. But Arya Stark is not the savior of fucking Winterfell, considering she saved the planet from fucking zombies, bro.
Well, she helped anyway. Arya actually
She helped.
Arya is who actually stopped the Night King. And Jon,
that's what I'm saying. Arya.
No way. Oh, I'm sorry. I got that. I'm sorry. I apologize. Jon, there's no way that Ned Stark would have stabbed Dany.
I'm sorry, Ned Stark. So Ned Stark's just gonna let Daenerys live after burning an entire.
He wouldn't have kissed her first and then stabbed her in the heart.
That motherfucker bent over backwards and let Cersei fuck him in the ass before he lost his fucking head.
Hold on. I don't think that Ned Stark would have killed her. I think that he would have tried to do it diplomatically. Because look what happened with Cersei. He didn't go up to Cersei in that little courtyard and stab her because she was wrong.
Yeah, he got bent over. Cersei bent him the fuck over and put it right in Ned Stark's ass before Ned lost his fucking head.
I think that was Jamie, actually.
No, well, I mean, Cersei put it in Ned's ass is what I'm saying.
Oh, that could have been because, he was partial liar.
I mean, he has been known to be a lying ass, so,
That's another podcast.
Who, Ned? Yeah.
Ned Stark have killed Dany. Why aren't we writing this down? Somebody write this down.
You know what?
Someone write this shit down.
I'm a little mad right now. Thank you for bringing this up. I'm a little mad all of a sudden. This is all fucking Ned Stark's fault. If
It
that
is.
motherfucker hadn't lied to the whole goddamn kingdom
It's true.
for 20
It's
years
true.
or so, he could have put Jon on the throne, the rightful heir, and said, "Hey, Robert, you got to chill out and get out of here. This is my sister's kid. He's the rightful fucking heir to the Iron Throne." Problem solved. Danny would be like, "Oh, I'm going to come home and marry my cousin, uncle, whatever, nephew."
No way,
And had to
Robert.
live with cat talking shit all that time. He might have made the right decision.
Right?
What do you? No, I disagree. There's no way, Robert. Robert would have had that kid killed, man. Robert wanted that throne. Come on. Stop.
Not if all the Starks were protecting
Actually,
him.
wait, time out. Robert didn't want the throne. That's where you're wrong. Robert wanted Lyanna. He didn't give a fuck about the throne until they realized that they sacked King's Landing and he had the best claim because why? His grandmother was a fucking Targaryen. So if you want to come back to it, Jon Stomos, it all comes back to the Targaryen.
Grandmother wasn't a Targaryen. Is actually his ancestor was Targaryen.
No, his grandmother was a Targaryen.
Anyways,
can I just say, hold on, you guys are so funny. I totally lost my train of thought. So we're gonna go back to the show notes.
I think we're on Arya.
We're gonna have to do a podcast about this and break that down. All right, let's look at Arya and Sansa, the Starks. Yardley, what do you think about the Sansa?
Sansa being dubbed Queen of the North and declaring independence for the North is kind of a arc that we've always been on. So it was definitely cool to see that. And also, like at the end of the episode, when you see her sitting in that dope ass wooden direwolf chair, which was just it was just too tight for me to even. I almost fell out my chair. I was like, that was dope, and I want that chair. So that's my next woodshop project. But seeing Sansa being in a good place, and she actually had a smile on her face, which is something that, we kind of felt like, hey, she earned all of the things that, that she's earned. And some of the stuff, the love that she was given from the people in the North, I think that was totally deserved. But the thing that kind of struck me odd at the end was when she decided to say that, hey, you know what? The North said that they wouldn't kneel to another king. We're going to declare, we want to declare our independence. I find it really hard to believe that everybody else was like, you know what? That's what we're going to do. Because I kind of felt like they were going to go back to, the 7 kingdoms or whatever. And everybody just kind of, takes care of their own, so to speak. So I thought that was odd that, people didn't jump on that. That was weird, but I really did like seeing Sansa, in a great place to close this thing out. I think most of us have wanted that for the character. I really didn't mind how her arc ended because I really do think that, especially this season, actually going back to the end of last season, she's just been doing a good job, and you knew that she was all about her family, but especially the North as a whole. So she got her due. I'm happy with how her story.
Hey, Yardley, are you like me? I don't know if Trin is gonna agree with me on this, but this is what I loved about the Sansa thing. She became Queen of the North without a fucking man to have to do it for her. She fucking did that on her own. She didn't need to marry nobody. She was like, bitch, this shit is mine. I'm stepping up. Give me my fucking crown. Fuck all y'all. Look at my awesome robe. Like, she didn't need no fucking man. That bitch did it on her own.
She didn't have to blow anything up.
She didn't have to blow anything. She didn't have to blow anybody. It was great. She did all on her own.
However, I've got to take up for the men here. And I do have to say that there's no way that Sansa would be exactly where she is now if she didn't take note of some of the things of the men that she was around. So
especially Littlefinger,
hell yeah, the stuff that she could use, she kept it. But I think her ambition and just her, she's a go-getter, to be honest. And when we start the story off with her, a lot of people were so down on her, about how she was. But the fact of the matter is, Sansa was naive like she was because that's the way the cat was raising her. You know what I mean? So I kind of put the early perceptions of the character kind of on her upbringing because that was the world, and Cat was pretty, a pretty traditional person. But she's clawed herself out of a lot of situations. She's always, if someone did something good for her, like Theon, even with all the things that he did to her family, she's always, she's been confident this season, but she's been humble enough to say, hey, thank you for doing this for me, or showing how she felt the appreciation for people like Theon who did things for her. So she has, she shows vulnerability, she shows strength. And I think the other thing is that she kind of understands the world of like politics more than a lot of people who are older than her. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things that Jon Snow could totally learn from Sansa. But I think a lot of characters in this show are really hard-headed. And speaking of hard-headed, let's get to my favorite hardhead, and that's kind of Arya Stark. So
nice. I see what you did there. Nice.
Yeah. So, we got to know her character, really good over the last few seasons. We kind of saw where this thing was going. And at the end of the episode, she was essentially saying that she wanted to go where the map ends. She's in a great situation, though, because even though she's exploring, if anything goes wrong, if anything goes bad, she has an advantage that most people don't, because she can always go home. You know what I'm saying? So if things don't work out for her, she always has something to fall back on. So that is pretty good. But the one thing about her arc closing out, I am disappointed. And I don't know if George Martin is going to do anything from this angle in the books, but I've always thought that her no repercussions behind her leaving the Faceless Man, I just think is really crazy, because this is a secret, this is a secret thing. And if you have people, you can't just have people come in and learn the skills and bounce. It just doesn't seem like you can just do that. And I really hope that there are some repercussions to her leaving the Faceless Man. That always bothered me. And I thought that possibly it could come into play a little bit later on. But I think I figured out at the end of last season that they weren't going to go there.
What if she becomes like a freelance though, like she goes to the House of Black and White every once in a while, checks in, gets a side quest, goes and kills somebody, and then she's coming to America for a while.
It's Arya 2020. She's coming here.
It would be something, but I hope that there's a little bit something more to that. And when we were talking about prophecies, you remember when Melisandre was telling Arya about how she'll close all the different colors eyes? Would that be considered a prophecy, or is there another word for that, for what Melisandre did? Would you consider that?
I mean, I would say it was a prophecy.
Okay.
Foretelling, yeah.
Foretelling, I think that it was kind of cool that in the show, when we were all talking about, Arya possibly killing Cersei, or the possibility of her killing Dany, when at the end of the day, the green eyes that she closed was Melisandre's, because after she killed the Night's King, Melisandre chose to take off her necklace and finally die. So the final set of green eyes that she would close were Melisandre's and not Cersei or Dany's. So I thought that little play on things was something that I will give the writers credit for.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I thought that maybe at one point Arya was going to kill Dany. And I'm kind of glad she didn't, because it was like, you already kind of saved all of humanity from the Night King. Although, thinking about it, I don't think the Night King was really the bad guy here.
No.
I mean, he wasn't going to discriminate. Everyone was going to be equal. You were all going to be
dead.
Yep. I Sansa being the Queen of the North, totally awesome. Totally for that. I love Sansa. I hated her at first. She really grew on me. Now I'm really happy with Sansa's character. I love the outfit she wears. I love how strong she is as a character, and I love how she shut Edmure right down. I also, that was awesome. I also love the fact that she has grown so much as a character. Let's see, what's Trin say about Sansa? What's up with Trin? What's up with you, Trin?
I've loved Sansa since probably the second season, when you really do see her change or start to grow. And we've seen amazing character arc from Sansa. She's probably one of the best character arcs in the show, and the most consistent. She hasn't She's always been given really good dialogue. She's always been put in front of characters, strong, powerful characters. And Yardley, you were saying, yeah, she learned from Littlefinger and men, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. She learned from Cersei. She learned from Olenna. I mean, she learned from very powerful women as well. So we can't not credit the females.
Well,
Powerful weapon is between your legs. That's what Cersei taught her.
But how many times she was literally in a buddy cop movie with Littlefinger? She ran across a limb. So, I mean, let's be real here. I don't know if I can, but I get what you're saying, Trent. But I also said that she took in a lot of stuff that she was around. But I can't let people kind of ignore the influence that Littlefinger had on her.
No. I would never ignore that. That was definitely her biggest influence. But she grew out of him, luckily, thankfully.
Yeah.
And I did find it interesting that at that little King's Moot thing that they had where they were picking Bran, and she turned to Bran and said, I love you, little brother, but the North is now independent. We're going to keep our independence. So that's what it is. And he was like, cool with it. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. And how Yara Greyjoy from the Iron Islands and the new new Prince of Dorne had nothing to say about any of that, because the Iron Islands have been trying to get their independence and have their own king or queen. Right. And Dorne barely is in the fold in hardly any of the whole Song of Ice and Fire. So we've got these two kingdoms that are known to be independent or constantly trying to be independent from the Seven Kingdoms, and yet they're completely willing to be in Bran's Six Kingdoms. Like, that didn't make sense that they didn't try to split off as well into their own little thing. So I have a big problem with that. It's very inconsistent with their houses. Yeah, I have to agree with Chris, that whole Edmure Tully sit down, because he's trying to sell himself like he should be the king. That would have been some bullshit right there if they would have let that happen.
Y'all didn't want to hear, really? I kind of wanted to hear him. I thought he was going to go on some long,
We heard him back when he was talking to Robb Stark
and
trying to make his case, and he's just a jackass. So... Anyway, moving to Arya, she had a very fitting ending to her character as far as where she was going. She's always been an adventurer, and she's always known. And she told her father, that's not me. I'm not the lady. And that was before she was into the whole death thing. She was a little adventurer. She would go off and very self-sufficient, and I can see her doing that in the books as well. At the end, I could absolutely see her going to see what's west of Westeros and ending up in Yi Ti or something like that. Yeah. So I don't know why they did the White Horse. We'll never get that explanation, but it's cool. Whatever. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of it.
Maybe we did, Trent. Remember when I read the full definition of it, and one of the things that they say about White Horse, that it talks about freedom and getting out there. Not the Christian, saying it means death, but in I think in Native American culture, it represents freedom. So
maybe symbolizes her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jon Snow, what do you think about? Oh God, what do you think about the Stark? Sansa and Arya.
He's kind of like a cardboard cutout too.
It looks like he's getting I'm getting.
I've always loved Sansa. Everyone knows this. I love Arya. My niece is named Arya.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing, John. I really, really need Sansa's tiara, and I think we're gonna see everybody and their sister playing cosplay with that tiara. They better go on the market. That's all I got to say about that. Okay.
Oh, next year at the con, you're seeing that outfit next year at the con. I'm telling you that right now. I already know who's going to do it too. I already think of the three people who are going to do that. I love Sansa, Queen in the North. I loved it. No one's going to argue that, because the North is, you can't, don't mess with the North. You can't conquer it. It's very tough. They just said, let it be on your own, rule. We're independent. It's awesome. And I couldn't be more happier. Sansa's everything, the crown, the the direwolf throne was freaking awesome. I love it. We Stark fans, we got to deal with a lot of bad shit happened to us over the years. I mean, especially Sansa, man, getting raped by to go from getting raped from Ramsay to being the queen in the north is fucking amazing. I love it. This is the best ending I love it. And I love Arya sailing with a what do you call the trin, the front of the ship? Is it like the mast or whatever? It's like the direwolf
mast.
It's the mast. So you got the direwolf there. You got the direwolf sail. That's fucking awesome. I love that she's sailing. Let's not forget she's a fan of Nymeria. So she kind of mimicking my Nymeria a little bit there. So that was awesome.
However,
and like I said before,
Nymeria did get married.
Yeah.
To a Dornishman. So, or somebody who turned into a Dornishman eventually.
True. Stark's on top. I mean, I can't say much more. I'm super happy. This is the time of the wolves. We rule 8 kingdoms. We rule 8 kingdoms. Maybe Arya conquers something. I don't know. We rule because Jon's beyond the wall. So Bran rules 6 kingdoms. Sansa's queen in the north. And
okay, but you just said a little bit ago that the north takes ownership of the wall. So.
It's beyond the wall, though.
Oh, okay, because it's beyond the wall. Gotcha.
It's beyond the wall. Okay.
My favorite,
Stark's on top.
My favorite is
Stark's on top.
My favorite is that you say I love you for this, John. Your favorite thing is I love the Starks. I love the Starks. They're on top. I love the Starks. I love Jon Snow. I love the Starks. That's okay. I appreciate your enthusiasm.
I'm a simple man, Chris.
I know.
I've been Stark. I could go on. I want to cut. We're trying to go easy. I don't want to go too crazy because I was going to go to Big Tyrant. I mean, you have to understand, think about the seasons. Ned Stark was executed in episode 1. Sansa was held prisoner by the Lannisters. She was raped by Ramsay. Jon Snow died. Arya got blinded. The Red Wedding where Robb and Catelyn died. Rickon died because he couldn't zigzag. Everything bad has happened.
All he had to do was a zigzag fucking pattern, my friends. That's all he had to do.
All of these bad things have happened, and look what happens. It's for Stark fans, it's a happy ending because we're all in a good place. So I'm very happy.
That's good. No, I think that I'm happy that you're a happy character for all your characters that you love, and that's why we love Jon. Jon is the most enthusiastic, most hell-bent lover of the Starks that there is. Although Jon
and Game of Thrones, period.
No, you love the Starks.
No, I love the Starks. I love the Game of Thrones.
Julie, go ahead with your Starks.
Hold on, Chris, because I have a question for you from Mama Cheryl on Facebook.
Hey, Facebook.
She says, Chris, you must be dying. Stomos wins, and Creepy Chair Boy gets the throne. That's from Mama Cheryl. I thought you wanted to know about that.
Thank you, Mama Cheryl. I'm not dying. Tyrion actually wins because without Tyrion, Jon Snow would not have stabbed Dany in the heart.
Truth. So here we go. Here comes the next rant. Okay. The show should no longer be called Game of Thrones. It should be called Game of fucking Starks because that was a steaming pile of horse shit. Horse shit. First of all, let's talk about Arya. Love you, Arya. You're fucking badass. But I seriously think she could have gotten a way better fucking ending than that. Hi, I'm on a boat with a... No, come on. It's fucking Arya. She stabbed the Night King for fuck's sake. Give her something better than she's fucking... what's her name on the Titanic? I'm flying. Hold me, Jack. Come on. Give her something better than that, for fuck's sake. Let her put on literally, I thought they were going to, have her change her face. Why did we fucking have her become, seriously, what was the point of letting her go to the House of Black and White if she wasn't going to use any of the fucking faces which came to Westeros, except for one, which killed Walder Frey? What did they fucking do? Anyway, okay, so now let's get to fucking Sansa, okay? Let's get to fucking Sansa for a half a second. I never liked Sansa from jump, and here's why. Because she was always head in the clouds. I'm going to be the princess. I'm going to be the queen. Look at me. I don't like girls like that. Sorry if you are like that. I don't like you like that, okay? And then all the shit hits the fan for it. I felt really bad. I really was like, man, this girl can't get a fucking break. She can't get a break. Jon Snow, I am going to reach through the screen and punch you. She can't catch a break. She just can't, right? So then what happens? She's with Littlefinger, and then this. So then her arc changes, and she becomes a mean girl. Okay? She turns into this conniving, scheming, prettier Cersei is what happens. Younger Cersei. That's what happens, right? She tells, Tyrion about Jon's lineage, even though she was asked not to. She does this and she does all these underhanded things because what did she want more than anything in the world? To be a fucking queen. That's all she cared about. She didn't give a shit about the realm. She didn't give a fuck because had she given a fuck, she wouldn't have been down in the crypts going, well, it is what it is. We're just going to have to die honorably because we're lost. Okay? So there's my first issue. Second issue is all she ever did was give a damn was to be queen. And all she wanted was the North to be independent. She asks it of Dany when her and Dany are having this really amazing bonding moment where she really is trying, Dany was really trying to come together with her, right? Yeah, Sansa's like, fuck you. I want our independence. Fuck you, right? That was her. And then what happens then? Her brother, Wheel Creeper, somehow becomes the magical king of the Six Kingdoms. And I agree with Trin and I agree with Yardley. You mean to tell me that Dorne and fucking the Ironborn aren't like, well, what the fuck? What about our independence? What the fuck? You mean to tell me that they all just sat there and like, yes, Sansa, we agree. The North should be free from the Seven Kingdoms. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Such bullshit. Total fucking bullshit. But I will say this. Sansa, you're badass because out of every single person in this show, you learned how to play the game. You did it right. You took everything, every situation that Sansa was in, she took it to her advantage. She absorbed it. She sucked it in. And what did she do? She used it to her advantage. And that motherfucker's sitting on her own throne in the North with a kick-ass fucking crown and a really awesome fucking dress. And she's like, basically, Sansa won the Game of fucking Thrones. That's what it was. There it is, folks.
I like that much better than Bran. Now, real quick, I just want to mention, because we're almost out of time on the live show, if you want to continue with us, because we're still going to be recording the podcast, we still have a little bit of content to get through. I just put a link into the Facebook and into the YouTube. If you go to that link and you join us at Get Vocal, either on the app available for iOS or Android, or on a Chrome browser, come join us there, so you can give us your sword rating and finish out the show with us. So remember, that's getvocal.com, or I put a link in the chat of the YouTube, the behindtheironthrone.tv, and also on the Facebook Live. This way you guys can stay with us, because when the show stops broadcasting, we're still live on this program. It's just not streamed to those other places anymore. So come join us there, and that way we can get your sword ratings in, because we're not going to have time to get them in the regular live stuff. And I really want to get your guys, the audience's take. And don't forget, if you can't join us at Get Vocal, or you can't make it to the end of the podcast with us, don't forget you can get the podcast on Podbean, on Stitcher, on iTunes, wherever you get your podcast from. And also keep in mind that we're going to be doing a show tomorrow night, the 21st at 8:30 with Andre and myself, going over this episode, the last episode of Game of Thrones again. And of course, on Thursday, we're going to be doing a community discussion where we try to focus on your guys' comments mostly. Okay, announcements are over. Where in the hell were we? Julie, you finished on your Sansa attack, right? You're good with that?
Yes, I'm totally done with my Sansa rant and attack, and, fuck it. Fuck the Starks.
I think Bran's next.
Is Bran next?
Fuck the Starks.
All right, Bran's next. Six Kingdoms, Bran the Broken, Bran the Wheel Creeper, Bran, how the fuck?
Can I ask a question? Why do they say that it's the first of his name when he's not? Because there was Bran the Builder.
I think as a king.
Because it's a king of Westeros. That's why.
Yardley, Bran the Broken.
Yeah, I think ultimately Bran being chosen king was probably the most logical choice in that moment. Of course, how the story ends, we won't ever know if ultimately it was a good choice. But I think it's interesting that at the end of the day, 6 of the 7 kingdoms kind of fell back into being ruled by a monarch. Even though it's until he dies, they still kind of fell back into the same thing. So there's no guarantees that the realm is going to go to some type of a democratic system. They literally laughed it off, in the show. But my biggest thing about Bran is at the end, why the fuck is he looking for the dragon though? Like, why does he